Today we're talking about the updates at WikiTree. Now, if you're not familiar with WikiTree, WikiTree is a free platform. It's a collaborative tree, but there's a ton of really good information up there. So this should be another place that you are looking for your ancestors. Similar to Family Search, where it's a big collaborative tree, but they also have a lot of good source information as to where to find some of the facts, that you're seeing in the profiles of your ancestors. So Mindy Silva works for WikiTree. And because of some of the changes that have been happening over at WikiTree, I asked her to come on the show and give us a tour of some of the updates. And so she's going to do that. Now, if you're brand new to WikiTree, there was another episode I did with her a while back. I will link that in the description box, kind of how to get started with WikiTree. So this one kind of picks up where that one left off with some new updates. Let's jump over to the computer and see what Mindy had to say. Today, I am glad to have Mindy Silva from WikiTree with us. She's going to explain to us a little bit about how to use WikiTree if this is kind of like your first time playing with it. Because I talk about WikiTree a lot, but a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't know anything about it. And since we did our last video, there's been some changes. And we're also going to talk about how to find repeating people in your tree. In other words, maybe cousins that married cousins, and if they show up in the tree in a couple different places. So Mindy Silva, welcome back to Genealogy TV.
Thank you, Connie. And yes, we really have been, this is our year of community connections is what we're calling it. That's what our focus is. But, because of that, we've done a huge amount in how people connect to others and, ways to make it easier for you to tell. So one of the things we've done this year is we have what's called your CC7 now, and that's your connections within 7 degrees. So everybody has their unique number. Mine is 1,852 people connected to me within 7 degrees. And it's a really interesting way to go out into the different generations and find those family members where maybe you haven't filled out the entire family.
That is brilliant. I love it. Well, look, why don't you share your screen and give us kind of a how to get started with WikiTree. And for those, while she's getting that set up, for those who are not familiar with WikiTree, WikiTree is a collaborative tree. It's a little bit like Family Search in that everybody's adding to this collaborative tree. But WikiTree has some unique properties. WikiTree has the ability to put in sources, which I think is key in a collaborative setting.
Okay, this is our new connections page. And so, like I said, this is my total up here. I have 1,852 people connected to me, and that's actually broke out by degree. So I can go down and keep adding. And as you notice, just like with any other kind of a table or a chart, the more generations you go, the more people you're going to have to look at. You can also look at missing connections on that. So once you go ahead and click on that, it takes it a second, but it'll give you a chart that'll tell you which ones still need parents. If there's only one child added, if they died young, you can see what's possibly missing in those parts of your tree so that you can go out and work on those.
So is signing up for WikiTree kind of the same way as it was in the previous, when we did this previous episode? And I'll put a link in the description of the previous episode, but getting started, I think there was an honor code you have to sign, basically saying you'll be a nice person.
Yeah, that you'll respect other people's privacy, and that you'll add sources to the profiles that are out there. I mean, pretty basic stuff we all really want to do if we're doing genealogy anyways. So this table is showing, like for Marianne on the top line, she has a spouse and she has 5 children added. So her children are probably all there. It gives you the birth date and birthplace. And, you can see that for my 4th degree, I've really got these families filled out. They have quite a few children, and the ones that don't are ones that died young. So, but if this were further out, or if I hadn't had time to work on that generation yet, you would see a bunch of 1s or 0s where the children's list is. And then let me see if I can find one. There we go. If you can find one with the pink and the blue on it, that person doesn't have parents. So, that might have been an aunt's spouse or something, and you haven't gotten around to adding his parents yet. But if you want to now, you can go ahead and bring that profile up and you can add the parents to them, and that'll expand your CC7. And, you never know where you're going to find records anyways, that is going to help you with a brick wall. So it's really good to get these families filled out. And then one of the other things we did is we used to have where you clicked on the family tree tab and it just automatically showed your tree, and we don't anymore. It takes you to this where you have a whole bunch of choices. So you can look at your identifier list. You can look at a dynamic tree, your family anniversaries. And then of course, the one that's used a ton is the old fan chart, and there's just so many options for this. And it's a great way of looking at your family. And additionally, we put different links for some of the other stuff. So for example, you can look at your ancestor statistics. Some of these things were here, they were just kind of buried in a back page, and now they're on a menu. So I can go ahead and see that the average generation length is 30, average lifespan for my family members is 68, and it tells me who my oldest ancestor is. There's also a brick walls app, and that one goes ahead and gives you all of your brick walls.
Now, where was that? Go back. Could you go back and show us where that brick wall link was?
So when you're on your profile, we now have this tree apps button instead of a family tree link.
Okay.
And then here you have a drop down menu. We want to go all the way down to other apps just because there's so many, the drop down menu is going to be really super long. So, that's where your main fan charts and whatnot are. And then you want to go to other apps and click the go button. I always expect it to just go, and it doesn't. You have to click the go button. And then here's your brick wall ancestors is one of the features. So yeah, once again, that'll show you everybody that does not have parents, starting at your closest ancestors out to your furthest ones. And that way you can look at the location when they were born, and you can click on those profiles if you're ready to research that person and see if you can find the parents. This was another one that has been there, but kind of hidden. And this just gives you, really visual layout if you want to look at your tree in this way. And you can go to anybody and pick them, and they'll become the central person if you want to be able to look at their ancestors and their descendants. And then here we have the map system. And so these are my ancestors and the main places that they have been. And it's color coded by generation, which is really cool. And if you wanted to, you could add in the extra setting to go ahead and show migration paths. So, you can look at this and say, okay, I want to know, see my layers, person, and migration. And that's going to show you all the different ones that migrated from one country to another. And, I'm kind of a Heinz 57. I'm from a lot of places. So my migration path map gets a little bit too convoluted for me to follow it. But, you could also narrow that down and start with a different family member, and it might not be so bad. This one kind of has all of our other features. Well, a lot of our other features kind of mixed into one. So it's a tree, and you can see the pictures, and if you want, you could see a summary of the biography. But this just has all your links to go to, like the auto bio, what their sources were. You can get to the fan chart from here. You can get to the Topla maps from here. It's just a different way of looking at things for people that are really visual and don't want to click through the menus. And then this is something that's been on the profiles for a long time, RootsSearch. And that's also been added into the extra menu item. So for people that want to look for it there. And here's where you can customize which sites you like to use and pick them. And so, when you click this and you go off somebody's profile and you click this, it's going to fill in all of this: birth date, birthplace, death date, everything. And then you can say, okay, I want to look on family search, or I want to look on Fold 3. and it's going to pull all that information in for you so that you don't have to type it. Let's hope
So now do you
Family
have to
Search
have
behaving.
your accounts synced with Family Search, with
Yes.
Ancestry and all that, right? With your WikiTree account?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really just, it's more of a browser thing. You know, I leave myself logged into Ancestry all the time because I use it every day. And
Right.
so if I click on Ancestry, it's not going to ask me to log in or anything. I'm already logged in. Family Search, of course, if you haven't logged in the last 2 weeks, it's going to ask you to log in again. But it, you know, just a nice research feature instead of having to go in and type everything. And then one of the last things here are the widgets. And, you know, these are widgets, images that you can either screenshot and use it somewhere, or if you have a website that you can add a widget to, it actually gives you the HTML code so that you can say, you know, I want this many generations starting from me to be on my website. And there's a couple of different visual ways to portray them. And the nice thing about these is that they update on their own. So, you know, say you pick out your great grandmother and you want a widget for that, but you don't have her grandmother. When you add that grandmother on WikiTree, it'll automatically be updated on that website.
How cool is that? Now, if let's say I had this on my website, and can somebody click on a person there and then it'll take them over to WikiTree?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool. Nicely done.
Got to have that cousin bait, you know, draw interest and hopefully draw on those cousins that'll go, oh, I have a will for that person. Would you like me to share it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that might be good for my North Carolina website. Let's take a break for a second. We're going to take a look at some information that you could use, and then we'll be back and we're going to talk about how to find repeating people in your tree. Hey, we're going to get back to that video here in just a moment, but I want to let you know that Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Links for all of that are in the description box below the video. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about one of my favorite tools is how to find repeating ancestors. And I did not realize when I was working on Ancestry, I didn't realize for the longest time that I had one branch of my tree that's repeating. And let me share my screen and explain what exactly I'm talking about. So at WikiTree, you have to be in the tree apps and come down and hit fan chart. And then what I had to do is I hit the plus button to zoom extra. So when it defaults, it comes down to something like this, right? And then you have to add some generations. But when I did, it colorizes the repeats. Now, Mindy, is this a default now? Does this do this by default? Because we used to have to turn on the repeating colors.
Yeah, now the default option is to go ahead and show those, you know, because that is one of the important things that people use the fan charts for.
So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I'm doing to zoom in is I'm actually using the roller bar on my mouse, the little roller scroller thing. And depending on where you put your mouse, see, like I could zoom in over here, or I can zoom out. Just depends on where you put your mouse, or you can hold the space bar down and grab and drag around, which is kind of helpful too. But check this out. So I have repeating ancestors because I had Nixon and John Henley. Anybody who follows me and watches some of my videos, you may have seen me talk about this before. But what does this mean? If we follow this line down and we follow this line down, these are parents, grandparents, great-grandparents of Nanny Winslow and of Henry Henley. And so what that means is that these two were second cousins when they married. So it could be that they didn't even know it, or they may have known it, who knows? But I think this is a wonderful tool for WikiTree, because I don't know of anybody else that is doing this. And so it might be that if you have done a lot of research and you have the ability to check for repeating ancestors in your tree, or maybe even have endogamous relationships. I don't know how that would work in your own tree, but it might be interesting to play with. And so I love this chart. There's actually a couple different versions of it. I did this one because it was easy to see for the YouTube channel. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Anything else you want to share with us, Miss Mindy?
I think that's it. I think that covers all of the new changes right now.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and pick your brain about something, and by the way, for those at home, she is a specialist in Portuguese research, right? Am I right about that?
Yes, I am.
So yeah, so if you have any questions, you can hit up Mindy for some answers there too. But if they want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Mindy at wikitree.com. So MINDY at wikitree.com. And yes, just, shoot me an email and I'll try and help you out.
Super. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Connie.